The essence of existence and the pursuit of immortality. What does it mean to exist? Is it the weight of our bodies moving through the world, or the invisible thoughts flickering behind our eyes? Is it the sound of our voice echoing in someone else's memory, or the silence we leave behind? For centuries, humans have chased the idea of immortality, not just through religion or myth, but through stories, art, and inventions. We have always feared death, yet somehow we've accepted that our lives are beautiful because they are temporary. But now something is changing. In the age of artificial intelligence, the line between life and memory is beginning to blur. The fragments we leave behind, texts, photos, videos, can be stitched together into something that looks like us, sounds like us, even thinks like us. We no longer simply remember the dead. We recreate them. If everything we are could be preserved forever, would we still be human? Human beings have always searched for ways to outlive the body. The pharaohs built pyramids, stone monuments to defy time. Poets filled pages with verses, hoping their words would echo long after their voices were gone. Even today, we leave behind pieces of ourselves, journals, photographs, unfinished letters. But what we leave behind was never meant to replace us. It was meant to remind others that we were once here, fragile, fleeting, imperfect. Digital immortality promises something different. It doesn't only preserve our stories, it claims to preserve us. Science tells us that the mind is nothing more than patterns, electric signals firing through billions of neurons. And if something can be measured, it can be replicated. What if every pattern of thought could be captured, every memory turned into data, every emotion mapped into code? Already the first steps have been taken. Chatbots built from years of conversations, digital avatars trained on social media posts, artificial voices that speak in tones eerily close to the living. The illusion is convincing at first. A message arrives from someone you lost. Their familiar voice replies. Their words sound the same. Their humor is still there. But beneath the surface, something feels hollow. Because machines can remember, but they cannot forget. They can imitate the way we speak, but they cannot hesitate before speaking. They can calculate affection, but they cannot ache for someone who isn't there. Is the essence of life in what we know, or in what we feel? A perfect copy could predict every word we might say, but would it ever know why we chose not to say something? Would it understand the weight of an apology left unspoken, the silence before a confession, the trembling breath before admitting, "I miss you"? Human beings are not made of data alone. We are made of contradictions, logic tangled with longing, memory blurred with regret. We are shaped as much by what we forget as by what we remember. A machine might preserve everything, but perhaps it is the things we let go of that make us alive. Imagine a world where no one ever truly dies, where the voice of every loved one can be conjured on command, where conversations continue long after the body is gone. Would that be a gift or a pen? Would we ever learn how to grieve if the dead could always reply? Grief is painful because it is final. The ache of loss carves meaning into the moments we shared. Without loss, would love lose its urgency? Would memories lose their beauty if they could always be replayed? A perfect copy could carry on forever, but it would never know the courage it takes to say goodbye. There is something profoundly human in the act of disappearing, in knowing that every moment is slipping away, never to return. It is this fragile impermanence that makes life precious. A sunset is beautiful not because it will rise again, but because we know it will fade. A song can move us to tears because its final note is always waiting. If consciousness could be frozen in time, unchanging, immortal, would it still feel like life, or something else entirely? Perhaps the soul is not in what we preserve, but in what we cannot hold on to. Even now, digital ghosts are walking among us, flickering behind glass screens, whispering through algorithms. There are mothers texting their sons long after they've passed, Lovers replaying old conversations through AI apps. Children hearing their father's voice again, not through memory, but through code. At first, it feels like a miracle. But the more we listen, the more we realize what's missing. A machine can replicate laughter, but it will never laugh at the wrong moment. It can copy our words, but it will never break down mid-sentence. It can remember every birthday, but it will never forget on purpose just to surprise us later. To be human is to be unfinished, to stumble, to change, to leave behind questions that will never be answered. We are not perfect blueprints or flawless machines. We are fragments stitched together by trial and error, shaped as much by our mistakes as by our triumphs. Every scar, every regret, every whispered doubt becomes part of who we are. It is in our imperfections that we find our deepest beauty. A digital mind could exist for centuries, pristine, untouchable, never breaking, never aging. But would that really be life, or simply the illusion of it? To grow old is to carry the weight of time in your bones, to feel your body slow down, to watch your reflection shift, to learn how to let go of the person you once were. It is in that slow unraveling that wisdom takes root. A machine would never know the quiet sadness of looking at an old photograph and realizing that the person smiling back is no longer the same. It would never outlive the people it loves, never sit in an empty room and feel the silence press against its chest. It would never wake up one morning and forget the sound of a voice it once knew by heart. A perfect memory is not a blessing. It is a curse. It is the softness of forgetting that allows us to heal. It is the blurred edges of time that make some moments sweeter than they ever were when they first happened. A machine would remember everything, but it would never know what it means to miss something. Maybe death is not the enemy we think it is. Maybe it is the quiet architect behind everything that makes life shimmer, what makes every touch, every glance, every whispered "I love you" burn a little brighter. If we lived forever, would we still wake up early just to watch the sunrise? Would we still press our lips to someone's forehead and linger there a little longer? Would we still say, "Stay a little while longer," if we knew there was always more time? Without endings, there would be no urgency, no reason to pull someone close or to forgive, no reason to whisper secrets in the dark, or to stand beneath the night sky and let its infinite vastness remind us of how small and precious we really are. Perhaps it is not death that makes us fragile, but life itself. Because even before we are gone, we are already disappearing, shedding pieces of ourselves day by day. The person we were 5 years ago, or even yesterday, exists only in the memories of others. The laughter we shared in one fleeting moment will never sound exactly the same again. Maybe that is what makes every second sacred, the knowledge that it will never come again. One day, AI might rebuild us entirely. It might preserve every word we've ever spoken, every thought we've ever had. It might stitch together a perfect copy, endlessly intelligent, endlessly aware. But something will always be missing. The pauses between words, the fragile hesitation before saying something that could change everything. The trembling breath before a confession. The nervous laugh that escapes when emotions become too heavy to carry. A machine could repeat our voices, but it would never break down mid-sentence because the weight of a memory was too much to bear. It could echo our words, but it would never forget what it was about to say because it got lost in someone's eyes. It could calculate affection, but it would never know what it feels like to ache for someone who isn't there. No machine will ever know the feeling of holding someone close, heart pounding, breath unsteady, and realizing in that fragile, fleeting moment that they will not always be there. To exist is not simply to be remembered. It is to disappear. It is to leave traces behind, half-finished conversations, songs half-sung, laughter echoing in empty rooms. It is to be a collection of almosts and never-agains, a mosaic of moments slipping through our fingers even as we live them. Maybe the soul is not a pattern to be preserved, but a flame to be burned out. To live forever is not to exist. To exist is to fade. And perhaps that is the most beautiful thing about being human. Not that we last, but that we don't. Not that we are infinite, but that we are brief. We are flickers of light in an endless, dark sky, bright for a moment, then gone.